Can we do the roll call?
Commissioner Lack,
Present.
Commissioner Ambler,
Here.
Commissioner Josbiak,
Here.
Commissioner Munt,
Here.
Mayor Bonta,
Here.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, would someone like to make a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the April 11th, is that a special meeting or regular meeting? Okay. Just make that note on the thing. That's it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, yeah, I think that passed. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the claims?
I didn't have anything.
Can we get a motion on the claims?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We've got our staff reports. Who'd like to go first? Maybe Mr. Bowditch.
First, if you'd like. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mr. President, Mayor. During the past month, it was, as usual, a busy month for Redevelopment Commission and working with the Community Development Director and Planning Department and with the staff of Tom Cherry. As always, a big thank you to them and to Sonia for all her help. This past month, we've had several meetings. One of the most important is with the development and sale of property on the north side for a future development. I will defer to Bill Rathjen to speak on that in more detail. We did have a meeting with the Portage Recovery Association on the Garrington School to discuss potential redevelopment for a potential community center, community asset that would be beneficial to not only the neighborhood, but the association, as well as address various abuse issues in the city from the perspective of drug, alcohol, whatever that may be, to assist individuals. And I also met with Abbenmarsh Consulting as it applies to the garden improvements that the Redevelopment Commission are wrapping up. And they have submitted a task directive. I will defer to Rich Piazza after this if there's any questions on that directive. It's basically picking up on the information of providing the progress reports for 10 hours a week to close that project out, and then to generally provide a project closing report, as well as a report that would show all the transition of warranties from the city to the Porter County Library, so that it is fully transferred over to them and there's not anything withstanding or that would be in the ownership or responsibility of the city of Portage or the Portage Redevelopment Commission. Other than that, it's been a long month as usual, but a lot of good things are happening in Portage, so if there's any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer those, but then I'll defer to Bill and then Rich.
Any questions? Thank you so much, Dan. Bill, if you're ready, you can come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll make it brief tonight. I have all good news, basically. We, as Dan had mentioned, we have started the clock on our deliverable process for the Northside development, which basically means that we have a large amount of data and information that we have to get to the potential purchasers of the property engineering-wise. So we've gone through the contracts, developed a 12-page list of documents that we have to submit, of which about half of them have already been delivered. So now we just have to catch up with additional engineering data and so forth, making assignments, working with Attorney Barnicki and Ed Graham. So I think we got it all covered now. Everyone's on the same page, and we're moving forward on that. So other issues in the real estate, since I'm here, I'll just give those now. On May 7th, we'll be doing our testing at the 6100 Southport Road building. between 11 and 3. So we should have that done. That's been kind of a process to get that thing going. And yesterday afternoon, we closed on the 17.76 acres on Southport. That was a purchase by the RDC, originally by the utilities group. That was transferred over to the RDC, and that process was closed as of yesterday. So you now own that property as well. Any questions? Man, you look like you had a question, Greg. You look like you were teeing it up. Anything? Nothing?
Just want to say thank you for, again, just as always, a great job. As Dan said, it's been a long month, but a lot is getting done, so thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
And then, Rich, did you want to come up? I was hoping so.
Good evening, Commissioners and the Mayor. Here to answer any questions you guys may have about our task order that's in front of you. As Dan explained, it's to extend the contract that we're currently under to do the day-to-day operations of the week, to be the representative of the Redevelopment Commission on site, to deal with the contractor, any questions, RFPs, kind of the work that Bailey was originally doing, and helping with Sandy and the staff there to answer any of those questions. So if there's any questions, I'd like to answer them for you.
Can you just explain the importance of the importance of having the closing report as well as the transfer, the report that shows the warranties and the transfers from the Redevelopment Commission to Porter County Library?
So as part of the closing out the contract, there's going to be a balancing change order that's for what was installed versus what was planned, to make sure all the i's are dotted, t's are crossed, make sure that the final balance is zero. There are some warranties that go along with some of the infrastructure that was installed on the steel, the stone, the stuff like that. So if and when the property is transferred to the library, that those warranties also get transferred and not voided by being with the RDC, who doesn't own it anymore.
So this was a function that Bailey was providing, and she was the program project manager. And since she has left the city of Portage and Redevelopment Commission assisting with this project, those funds will be used from her salary to cover this amount.
What is the additional cost for that?
Yeah, the change order.
I believe I gave the change order.
The original contract we had to take us through January of '24 was $42,000. This would increase it to $72,000, so it's an increase of $30,000. The original contract deadline, if you guys remember correctly, that was in January. There was a change order issued to extend the contract out till June. So the more time, the more money that they kind of go hand in hand with us.
And Commissioner, when I met with Evan Marsh, that includes, as I stated, the 10 hours a week to close the project based upon when the anticipated completion date was. But I had asked, and it was discussed, but I had also asked about the closing report, because that's necessary to balance everything, all the project out. And that was additionally something Bailey would have prepared. And since they've been working with the project from the beginning, it only been seen natural for Evan Marsh to take care of that in lieu of Bailey's work. And then it was brought up and discussed about the warranty. So that was not even a contemplated cost. So the last two parts were not even contemplated as part of that contract.
And the total is 192 additional hours?
Roughly, yes.
But, and that is, 192 hours is just solely for the function of taking over from Bailey, correct?
Take over from Bailey, providing the reporting, close the report, and to provide the report for the warranties.
Are there any other questions?
I wanted to make sure that we were comprehensive in the approach so that in essence, Adam Marsh would have to come back and say, well, now we need an amendment for the closing report, now we need an amendment for the warranty report. It was best to get it for you at one time, so we can get this project closed and not closed, and transferred over in a timely manner.
Yeah, initially I just saw the total figure. I thought that was the total change order.
I did also, when I initially read it.
And is it Attorney Bartnicki?
I wonder if our legal might
Yeah, I
have
just-
something to say.
One thing, I believe this is a document that I've been forwarded. Could we all take a look at the Portage representative listed? If this is the date of issuance on April 9th, we may want to adjust that if it's the same thing I'm looking at that was circulated earlier. I have a name of a former official there, unless it has been updated.
That was updated.
Okay. That was my only comment that I had, so thank you. No
I
legal
appreciate
objection
that.
other than making sure that we had a different copy than what was previously circulated.
That was updated minutes after.
Yeah, that's usually the way these things go, just wanted to double check.
If we're still having this kind of trouble by like next year or the following, that might be an issue, but there's going to be some first-year glitches
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
100%, yeah. But that's why we look at these things, so, yeah.
absolutely. So I know that this is further down on the agenda, but Attorney, is it appropriate to actually bring that up, or do you recommend we still wait till we get there to vote on that?
Well, we're in the staff report area, so it's good to get the information, but I think when we get to it at item, 9.1, that's when the vote should happen.
That sounds good.
But if there's any other questions, this would be a great time to continue to discuss the issue.
Is the library park still on track for Memorial Day-ish?
We have, I believe the ribbon cutting is scheduled for May 22nd. Substantial completion is a few days after that, but we will be having a ceremony. I can give more of an update during 9.1, I can give it now. But landscaping is finishing up right now. They're painting the steel, they're putting the roof on. We have a walk-through progress meeting on Monday to go through the site to make sure any little punch list items or things that need to be touched up or fixed are brought to the attention of the contractor in time to get it done. But yeah, we should be on track to get substantial completion before Memorial Day. Final completion won't be till 30 days later than that.
Any other questions? Not at this time. I've made clear who I think it should be named after, but she's not quite accommodating to that yet. So I'm going to keep working on that, but until then, it'll just be, I think, the Portage Library Garden. Probably should add that was a personal opinion expressed, not the opinion necessarily of the whole RDC. But I'm working on that.
And then lastly, under the staff reports, I believe that the landscaping improvements have been being made throughout the city by cutting the grass and cleaning up the winter debris that has built up. So I believe that's being done also.
I just want to say, yeah, the work that was done at outside the NERC building, we got a lot of compliments about some of the way that got taken care of, so pretty good. All right.
Other than that?
So jumping over, I don't believe we have any old business. So jumping to the new business, we have 8.1, consideration of retroactive approval for Corson Alarm for work at 6100 Southport Road. Did we have any comments or on that?
Did we end up getting an estimate or anything?
Not to date. Holiday Properties has been sending emails and updating on the ability to get estimates and proposals for that, and they're still working on it. Right.
So since it's a fire alarm, is there any kind of,
So the issue is that the fire alarm was going to be hooked into the NERC internet system. However, that's not an option that's available to us, so there needs to be a new internet service that needs to be integrated into the system. That's what we are understanding at this time. And so Holiday is looking for additional proposals for that additional internet service to be provided as part of the alarm system, which is not unique. It had, typically, the internet service will be independent of others, so that in case one goes down, there's redundancy, but you want it to be its own separate line.
I guess I'm just not sure what exactly is the right action step for us to take with this agenda item.
Is
There a,
is it something that could be delayed for action for a month or two? Or is it, because it's a fire alarm panel, I would assume the chief would
Right.
like something.
I have no idea.
Okay?
I would have to talk to our fire inspection chief to have any kind of input.
Right. So I'll defer to Sonia also, who's been keeping up on this.
They have like a rough estimate of the cost or anything?
Right now, the only cost they've given is like a $10 fee to be added on to our monthly bill, but that doesn't include getting the internet service for that back portion. So that's what we're waiting for, is the estimate on that. And according to Tiana, when I spoke with her, she said there's one that's up front, and then there's also the one that's in the back. So there's like two separate systems that they monitor. The one up front is working, the one in the back is not, because it was hooked up to an FOP, which is through a phone, and they need to separate that now, and that's why we're waiting on the Comcast. So we do have one working portion in the front, just not the one in the back.
So Sonia, there's no action that needs to be taken today. It was just to be brought up that we're looking for the proposals from Holiday.
Yes, sir.
Right. So it's more informational.
got it. So Attorney, we're good to just move on to our next item?
Yeah, I was going to say, if there was, I was trying to figure out a motion, but it sounds like this is informational, so there's not even something to table. So I think we just, information received, and we all move on.
Got it. Well, thank you. So we move on to 8.2, consideration change order number 1, Founders Square. And, well, there's also a change order number 2, but feel free to discuss them as you like.
Good evening. So change order number 1 is for an increase to the contract amount. The increase is $24,136, and the purpose for this change order was to clear some trees that were in the way of parking on the east side of the project, and also to add some power pedestals. We had a couple that were in the ground that weren't really functioning from the original project, and we needed to move them out of the way of the infrastructure that was going in for the beer garden. And not only moving them, we put them in like a stand-up type pedestal, so they're easier to see, easier to connect into. There's a door, you open it up, something that's pushed out of the way so you aren't going to trip on it. These were things that just came up as construction went along that we found, you couldn't have planned for, you just found it as you were out there and needed to address. So change order number 1, again, is for an increase of $24,136.
There any questions from the board? We have a motion.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then change order number 2.
Change order number 2, again, is for Founders Square. It is an increase to the contract amount. The increase is $32,126. The reason for this change order is to install power pedestals, very similar to what we just spoke of, along the plaza area. So there's a grassy area in between the fire station and the police station. A new sidewalk was added with some overhead lighting for pedestrians. And when the project was planned out, it wasn't thoroughly thought through. I'm not sure exactly how the conversations went, but our maintenance person currently thought we really should have some lower level outlets to plug in bounce houses, and if we had vendors to be able to plug in their wares or whatnot. And so this is for 4 power pedestals in the vicinity of light poles in the plaza area. And it is also for hand railing. In the plan, we could not get a sidewalk slope to meet ADA accessibility. So since the sidewalk wasn't going to meet accessibility, we put steps in it, and all consensus, we didn't like the idea of steps, but with the handrail, it gives you more a visual cue that you're changing elevations rather than just walking and falling downstairs. So we wanted to add in handrails so that those who need it can use it to go up these 2 steps, and it also gives you that visual cue, like I said. So change order number 2 is for a total of $32,126.
Are there any questions?
How many outlets currently exist over there?
I'm sorry,
How many outlets currently exist over there?
I couldn't even tell you. There are outlets all around the park. So you have outlets on the very north side, which is by the bathhouse, by the splash pad, all the way around on the east and west side. You have in the new plaza area where the food truck area is. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones on the north side, which was the original project, where the bathhouse and the splash pad they really aren't functioning at this point, so they're just boxes in the ground with a lid on them. The majority of the ones that are on the south half of the project in the amphitheater area and the food truck area, those are newer and they are being used by vendors and they are functioning. I honestly couldn't give you an amount. I just wouldn't have an idea.
So are we going to take those out and replace them? The ones that are
The ones that are
functioning?
not functioning, no. Right now, they aren't used. They haven't been used. They're not necessarily a vendor location when we have the markets. I think maybe originally it was thought that we would have somebody all along the outside sidewalk area, but they've never been used as vendor points. So the outlets have never been used, and at this point, without them functioning, it really doesn't affect anything.
And so why, I'm just, if we haven't used them,
Mhm.
what's the purpose of having them refurbished or?
We're not touching the ones that aren't working, that are around the north side. What we're doing is that there is a new beer garden that was installed, and it's sort of northeast of the amphitheater. And we had boxes in the ground where you could lift the lid and plug in whatever you needed to. Those weren't functioning. They had shorted out because the water had come up. So instead of just removing all that, they moved the power, they cut out all the bad stuff, and they put it in a power pedestal that's no longer underground, where it's going to be affected by water rising. It's actually going to stick up out of the ground, so it's visual, and you can see it, and it's out of the way from tripping, but it can be used for lights or vendors or whatnot. Of course.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we have a consideration for changing or amending the date of the June Redevelopment Commission meeting. I apologize, that's me again. I'm not going to DC or anything fancy like that, but there's a pretty big event happening on June 27th that it could create a significant conflict, and if it's possible with this much notice to adjust the date of the June meeting, anyway, I guess it's a request coming from the chair.
So June 20th or June 13th?
I would say that June 20th would be the most desirable for me if that works for the board.
Works for me.
Works for me.
If we could have that as a motion, I guess I kind of motioned it, but
Someone, I mean, this is one of those examples where there's been a full explanation, so someone could just simply just say, "so moved," and then we can, that way it's like it's already been stated in the minutes. So
moved.
there you go.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Well, thank you. So if we, so the, any other business deemed necessary by the commission. So to start, we have 9.1, consideration Abin-Marsh Task Directive Change Order Number 2 for the library garden. This was discussed earlier. Does anybody have any additional questions? And if not, could we get a motion?
Motion to approve Evan Marsh task number 2.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next up, we have an award, North Side Limestone Trail Maintenance, Barry Landscape.
If you all recall, at our last regular meeting, it seems a long time ago since we had that special meeting, but at our last regular meeting, we opened quotes for reestablishing the limestone trail that is north of 6100 Southport Road and south of Burns Parkway. We had 2 quotes, and the lowest quote we received was for $15,845. This is from Barry Landscape Management, and the department would recommend that we award the project to Barry Landscape Management for $15,845.
I believe when did we table this or for a legal review? Was that what happened with this? It does feel a long time ago since that last meeting. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think this was tabled for a legal review. I think it was just tabled for staff review. And I've taken a look. There's no legal objection to this award, but I think we were just doing more of a staff review. But I have taken a look at it, and everything looked like standard bids were being received, so no objection.
Any other questions? And if not, is our motion?
Mr. Bowditch, where do we stand with budget for everything?
That was budgeted for the Redevelopment Commission to provide for the limestone maintenance. Let me check the budget right now. Bear with me.
I guess my only concern
Right.
is, not really concern, it's just, I guess, a statement. The trail is not heavily used, and with the items we're talking about going on the north side, it's still $16,000 to be spending on something that might be.
Might be gone in the future. Is that fair? Well,
That's all right, or modified, or however you want to say it.
yeah, modified, let's say.
Is this something we can table and have a more holistic look at that entire area and for allocation of the funds on how to improve it?
That would be at the discretion of the commission, but I believe the intent is for, and this, Sandy, is part of the Marquette Trail so far, correct?
It is a stub of it.
It is a stub of, well, it's part of the Marquette Trail.
It is, yeah.
And
it
it's
is.
meant for maintenance to clear, because it's a limestone trail.
Correct.
It's becoming overgrown, is the issue. So it's a question of what is the use of the property, and is there a cost benefit of spending X amount of dollars for the amount of use that's being considered or contemplated or actually realized by the trail as a stub, when there is a potential for a project and the extension of the Burns Parkway that would in essence assume the traffic, bike traffic and walking traffic that would be along that trail. So that's the question, I believe what you're asking, Commissioner, is it worth to put the money in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Yes.
did budget for it in the budget. So it was there for maintenance of the facility. It was asked. It's a question of the proposals have come in. Sandy has reviewed them and made a recommendation for Barry to do the maintenance. Now, that trail, if it were to be, if the trail along with Burns Parkway were to be completed, that would be anywhere from 3 to 4 years out in the future anyways. So in the interim, it's a function of people are using that trail, and it should be maintained. It hasn't been maintained in, what, 4 or 5 years?
Correct.
Right. So this will put us in a position to have the trail in a situation where it's maintained and available for use, because there may be some liability issues if it isn't maintained properly. But it's nothing that would happen right away, Commissioner Lack, as far as the trail being assumed by the expansion or extension of the Marquette, of the Burns Parkway road. I hope that answers your question. I mean, it's.
Thank you.
So my question would be, for those of you who don't have that information in front of you, what would be the square footage of that area that's going to be worked on?
Oh, I don't have that calculation right off the top of my head.
You know how many linear, what was the linear feet? Does it mention in there the linear feet of maintenance?
There
It's
probably
pretty significant. It's a lot.
does.
Right.
It's a lot less expensive than I
Right.
anticipated.
We assumed the cost would be higher. when
What
we did
was the budgeted cost for it?
We didn't have a budget cost.
And this is the trail that runs along Burns
Right.
Parkway currently. This is not the trail system that's in the woods to the south, is that correct?
Right.
This is the trail that's in the woods to the south.
Right.
Oh, it is the trail to the woods to the
The
south.
The
Okay.
trail to the north is actually an asphalt trail.
Gotcha.
This is around the NERC building, correct?
Right.
Correct,
Yes,
it's north
correct.
of that building. So regardless of what direction we move forward in, I think that there does need to be some work out there, whether we send our own staff out there. There are rebar sticking out that was holding logs in place that lined the edge of the limestone trail. Now that those logs have decayed, the rebar is sticking straight up out of the ground. And, you know, I would hate for anybody to continue using it, fall and land on
Really
one of
does
those.
only take one person to have an issue, and, you know, it could become our issue, I would say.
And as far as the budget, Commissioners, it was included as part of the landscaping, snow removal, and lawn care services, and the total of the budget was $125,000. So it was part of that, and I don't have the notes of the breakdown of that 25,000. But it was, the amount we estimated was less than the proposal given.
From the liability standpoint, I am not as familiar with this trail as I could be. Are there signs marking it as a trail? Is it something that we are essentially inviting people to use? Because I'm not quite sure what we mean by a nub or a stub of the Marquette Greenway.
There are no signs, but the asphalt trail that's out on the north side of Burns Parkway leads to this trail on the south side. Goes through the woods meanders. There are benches and a garbage can off the side of it. So it really is prominent that it's a trail that you can see
Okay.
off of State Road 249.
Then for liability purposes, it's probably best that we do what we can to maintain the trail as best as we can until we determine whether or not it's going to be moved. Because if it's a trail with that is marked an extension of an existing trail, and we've got benches and garbage cans, that's really inviting people to use it, so we should probably maintain it.
So it's legal recommendation that the garbage can is inviting.
Yes,
Please note that.
Benches and trash receptacles are inviting.
put it down. Yeah, they are very inviting for people to walk past them.
I will add that I'm a runner and I run that trail and it's probably one of the most beautiful trails.
I would say that you just invited even more people to want to use it, because now everybody who's watching this meeting is going to be like, I want to see this trail. It's got a garbage can, Councilwoman Ambler likes it. This place sounds great.
Yeah, but for the rebar sticking out of the ground, I mean, yeah.
So for reference, the trail is 2,470 feet long and it's 8 foot wide. So that's how big of a trail we're looking at.
I guess at the beginning of this, I saw this more as, certainly not a private, trail for the NERC building, but I think I associated it with that property. But it sounds like from the description we're getting, it really is a continuation of the other city trails, It looks like you're tapping the microphone. Do you want to? Oh, I misunderstood the tap, sorry.
So I guess my question or comment would be, in future projects, would it be too much to ask for photos for projects like this? So for those of us who don't have that experience of walking in those trails, just give us a better picture of the project.
I think that's a good idea, generally speaking. There's probably going to be times where, maybe we expect everybody knows it. Like if it's something on I'm making up an example. It's like a trail off or something along like Hamstrom or off of Central, and maybe it turns out there's somebody on the commission that maybe just somehow hasn't seen it. But I think that is a really good idea about where we go for some of these.
Thank you.
Duly noted.
There is a location map in the quote documents that were sent out, and I believe that was in your packet, probably in March. So if you need anything other than what might be sent out in your package, just let us know, and we'll get you some copies of whatever you need, okay?
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Are there further questions, or is there a motion in regards to this proposal? Award?
Motion to approve upon the staff recommendation?
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Upon staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have a consideration for MS Consultants. Mr. Cherry, would you mind coming up for this one? As he's coming up, I just want to say, I think that we are the most fun redevelopment commission in the state, as far as I'm concerned. And I just appreciate the good nature everybody's got up here. Speaking of good nature, Mr. Cherry, it's great to see you.
Thank you, appreciate that. So we worked on, we had a consultant come in, MS Consultants, to take a look at the planning department, to take a look at procedures, forms, communication, ordinances. We're trying to streamline processes and just kind of improve things. The original quote was no more than 10,000 was going to be the charge. It came through at, I believe you have it there, right? 68. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to.
Oh, no, that's
I don't
okay.
have the figure in front of me.
6854,
Okay.
79.
So that's how, we just got the results of that. It's about a 150-page report, so we're going through it. But I would like consideration for, that to be funded by RDC, since it betters the plan department and, planning and procedures and speeding projects along. So, Dan, you're pretty well versed on this, this MS Consultants. Do you have anything to add?
So with the development, it's going to be beneficial for the development of the north side, as well as any future development that occurs, whether it's south of 700, 700 and Route 6. The processes were looked at in comprehensive detail to determine that what needed to be done to effectuate or assist in the development of property, from the perspective of looking at what forms need to be filed, when they're filed, so that they're concurrent or they're done in a proper order so that it can expedite development when the support is there. So it is very favorable to look at these. As a background in planning, it is good to look at these forms the processes and forms every 10 years, from the perspective of as legal technicalities change, planning processes change throughout the country and the region, we can implement those into our processes. So this was a process that was undertaken to really bring the City of Portage and the Redevelopment Commission up to speed as far as being proactive in economic development and planning and land use development.
If I could add just a bit more, because this was such a great experience, I think that the Planning and Community Development Department went through, that we went through. When it comes to MS, they're based out of Indianapolis, and I don't want to say that this is, it's never the case other than what I'm about to say, but in general, when you kind of look at some of their clientele, we are a little bit further north and we're a little bit bigger than most. And I say that because it was kind of unique for them to take on a city of our size and as if we're like super north. I know we're not Minnesota, but it really gave us the ability to have a really objective, firm come and take a look. I think Oksana, who came up and worked with the city, did an incredible, job. And it was pretty eye-opening just to start, looking through. One of the things I experienced when I came in as a new mayor was, well, I'll leave out the property, but you can probably guess, like a crazy issue where a sale was being complicated by our city processes, and the seller of the property is the Redevelopment Commission. Like, we were actually like having an internal battle over some of this stuff, and I'm like, wait, how do we get to this point? Something else, as Tom noted, we were anticipating, the cost, and we got it down to that 10,000 mark because there were things like within the contract that they offered that they could review for us, and we were really careful to try to get the cost down by not requesting as much as we could have requested out of the study. But actually, they went above and beyond and included things that we didn't mark.
Fee structures and things like that, too, so.
They did a lot more than $10,000 worth of work, and yet they still charged us within this amount. So I just thought that was a great deal we ended up with.
Yeah.
Right.
Sir.
I've been thinking about this particular contract and agreement and just wanted to point out, I know there's been some discussion about this, and in thinking about it, I think that a motion on this could be a two-part motion. Part one being you would move to accept this invoice as a valid invoice to the RDC, and then part two of the motion would be to then agree to pay the invoice using RDC funds. So it would be a two-part motion that would be, I think, an acceptable, and then it would be recorded in the minutes, as like we are accepting this as an RDC expense and approving that expense.
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I do have an additional, what would it be, 9 point, whatever. And I'm going to change it up and save the RDC some money potentially. So instead of asking for money, asking for consideration to approve the termination of the operational or management agreement between Holiday Property and RDC for 6100 Southport Road, better known as NERPC. With the new organization or reorganization of central services, Terry and his team can effectively handle the general maintenance of the building. We already handle the cleaning services for that building. We handle the landscaping for that building currently. And the only change that would happen would be Terry would handle the maintenance. My office would handle the calls. Currently, we're paying $833 per month, plus maintenance fees and material costs for any type of maintenance at a markup. So recommend, I worked with Attorney Bartnicki, and we have we can terminate this with 30-day notice. So I'm asking for consideration or approval to have Attorney Bartnicki draw up those forms.
If you're prepared to do that, Attorney Bartnicki, just for confirmation.
Yeah, we can do that. So in reviewing, it turns out that it was a 2012 service agreement that was still in effect. There was a potential renegotiation in '22 that appears to never have been signed. So in reviewing that, it turns out that it's just 30 days written notice because we are well past the guaranteed period of time for this service agreement. So I'm looking at, I think we can do this with two motions. One would be like a motion to just simply terminate the property management agreement, and then a second motion would be to authorize staff to provide notice and execute the transition to RDC staff becoming the managers of the building.
If I could add just a little bit for those who don't know, but I think most here do, but just in case, the central services is really just a simple change of name from general services. New mayor came in, and I just thought that general services sounded a little bit too vague. And so typical, politicians and their teams, we come up with a new name, and I'm sure that'll just keep happening for generations. But general services, it stems from the park maintenance team, but it's been consolidated with the marina maintenance. And so as noted, they're already doing the work there at the NERC building, so there's really not so big of a change.
Not a lot.
And
No.
it's to say it's already out their way between the marina, the parks. I think that this will be very easy to execute.
And we've had conversations with Terry, so he's,
Terry Ellis is the lead man for the central
Yeah.
services team.
so.
And with that in place, is that something along the lines of, what's the services called, not general?
Central.
Thank you, central services. We're- Will it get to the point where they will be the ones handling the trail maintenance and stuff like that to get it out of your department?
I will say,
Like eventually?
Eventually, I would say yes. That's what our goal is, so.
I would agree that that's the goal, to be
Yeah.
able to have the central services as the whole city's maintenance team.
Yeah. Baby steps.
So I'll make the first motion to terminate the maintenance agreement at 6100 Southport.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Then I think we need a second motion.
Okay,
We're
Play-
looking
play
for,
back
we're
the
looking
video
for
on
someone
that
to, we're looking for the commissioners to authorize staff to provide notice and to execute the transition in the maintenance of 6100 Southport.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chief Crail, did you have something that you wanted to bring up here? I mean, are there any other things for consideration before this board? I got somebody waving at me like I want to go too. After the chief, we'll ask that question again.
Good afternoon. First, I just wanted to say thank you for the generous gift to the fire department of the $75,000. I wanted to come in front of the commission just to kind of let you know that we do have a plan for some of the money and to let you know what the plan is. There are several things within the fire department that this will enhance aspects of our duties, aspects of the fire station. Unfortunately, our annual budget can't facilitate a lot of these items. So first and foremost, those of you that don't know, we are at the firehouse 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So for the firefighters that are there, this is their house for a third of their life. So we are looking at spending $31,506 out of the $75,000 on new beds for the entire department and new recliners for the entire department. Also, our honor guard has been operating out of their same uniforms since their inception. It was looked at buying new honor guard uniforms last year, however, that did not take place. Looking to spend approximately $7,000 on new honor guard uniforms. Some maintenance issues for the fire station. One of our south station, Station 1 on Swanson Road, we have a designated gear room that has its own circulation system. We had an environmental company come out. There's some mold that is around one of our air exchangers. They said that we do not have an environmental mold problem. We have it's just a moisture problem between the air coming in, the air going out. They recommended a dehumidifier, so we do have a dehumidifier for commercial grade dehumidifier for $800 or approximately $800. And then again, some maintenance issues with the stations. As you can imagine, they take a beating just like our houses do. And the amounts of windows that we have and doors on all the stations. We do have, we got a or quotes for caulking around all of the windows and doors. For our, let's see, this is our brand-new central station. I won't say brand new, our newer central station. Approximately $2,900 to caulk all the windows and doors. I'll save that one for the last. Approximately $1,100 for our north station, Station 2, which is also our oldest station. But then Station 1, again, it's built on some moist property, so there's a lot of moisture issues down there. The cost to do all the doors and windows in that station is $20,000, so it's significantly more. However, it is also with the highest amount of damage. I would, if you have any questions about any of the purchases that we are hoping to be able to spend, I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, this is not additional money. This is part of the $75,000 gift that was awarded to the fire department already, which we are very grateful for.
I think I've got two questions. Chief, do you know the total cost altogether?
Yes,
In
sir.
terms of what you're proposing here?
I do. The total cost is $63,345.08.
My second question is, and I think this is reference to legal, as well, for each of these individual projects, do they fall under, where they fall in the scale of, bidding versus services versus quotes? And do you need help from the attorney to just go through, we can approve, I think, the spending of the money on these things, but I just want to make sure that the order's right in terms of having that done correctly. Did that make sense, Attorney Bartnicki?
So, I'm trying, you're thinking the concern is that any of these projects need to be bid out competitively before we
I don't-
actually spend money on them.
I don't think any project on there is individually, it's not big enough that it needs a bid, but I think that we have a city, we've got a rule about how you get the quotes and things for the different, companies that do them versus some you can just go ahead and do. And I'm only asking because it's a mix of things. I'm not sure if they all fall under the same category or if I want you to get these things, don't worry. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that it's all done right, T's
Oh,
crossed, I's
absolutely.
dotted.
Yeah, I would hesitate to give a definitive answer, on the spot. So, we could take a look at that together, over time.
Would it be appropriate for us, if we feel that we're good to approve this all in one motion, could we put a contingency upon your review
Yeah,
of the
put a
purchasing?
contingency on the motion upon legal review, and, legal staff can work with the department on making sure that it's bid out or purchased appropriately based on, ordinances and things like that.
Sure, I hope that question made sense or
No,
got
it
you to the
does. I had
spot.
to mull it over in my head, so it's not the confusion, I'm just making sure I'm wording my response correctly.
I'm glad he's got the list together. If the chief were coming to one meeting at a time with one new request each time,
That's
we'd
just
probably have the
silly,
answer to
yeah.
each one individually.
Yeah,
This works a lot better
it
as long
does.
as you're comfortable reviewing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, one combined motion based on legal review, I think will work fine.
I will make a motion to approve that upon legal review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Mr. Bowditch.
Mayor, Commission President, I will work with the fire department to put together that list and get a schedule over to Attorney Bartnicki that would show each item and then the cost and whether it's a professional service or a bidding type item.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other matters to come before this commission? I don't know, man. You come up if you want.
I can give it a shot. Jake, Portage Recovery Association, hello again. First off, I wanted to say thanks for approving that date switch in June. So I don't know if you're allowed to share about what that's for, or?
I think if you're allowed to talk about if there's
Yeah.
something going on that you suspect I'm going to.
Yeah.
No, I'm coming.
Just-
You go ahead.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe, so.
I'm coming. Don't you worry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so last year, there was a thing, it's called the Summer of Recovery Tour, and what it is, it's an organization that's, within the next 10 years, what they want to do is be in every single county in Indiana. Last year, they were in 2, this year, they're going to be in 5, next year, they're going to be in 12. Anyway, they chose Porter County to have this event on, it's a Thursday night. Asked if I knew anybody that would speak, I asked Mayor Bonta, he said, let me see what I can do. I think what's really cool about it is that it's a Porter County event, not a Valpo event. So even though this year's event's in Valpo, I think by having the mayor there, potentially could get this event in Portage next year, which we're talking about, a couple thousand, clean and sober people just kind of celebrating in the city and have food trucks and a party and make a couple bucks too for the city too. So I think it's a great thing, and it's great showing, man. It shows them that the mayor's behind our mission. So a couple things. Grateful for the meeting that I had with you on Monday. I had a lot of consultation with a lot of people. We have some financial backers that are ready to completely support us on this endeavor. We think we can get, and I'm speaking of the Garrison building for no one that's familiar, we're willing to invest over $100,000 within 6 months into this facility potentially, if we can get this. And I think it's something the city desperately needs. It seems like it's costing the city plenty of money every single month just sitting there. And from what I gathered from the meeting the other day, a vacant building is not a good building in this city. We think we can have it occupied quickly. We're ready to start work on that tomorrow. We're willing to partner with other organizations in the future, but we think to be able to get in there and get a ball rolling, potentially save a lot of money for our organization by getting into this place, start taking over the lawn maintenance, blacktop the parking lot, put in complete new electric, air conditioners. We can get all of this donated. I think that it's not going to really cost us much with materials. We have the people to do it. We have some willingness, and we're ready to strike right away.
So we've got a meeting coming up on, Mr. Rathman, do you mind reminding me of the date of the meeting where we're going to be at the building? Is it May? Sorry, if I called you out, maybe I could have called somebody else out, sorry. Bill has not seen the building, or at least not been in there, so that's pretty cool to be that way. But we'll be checking that out. They're definitely May 6th. So for those who are on the subcommittee for that, including Wilma, you're on that with us too, right? And and we've got Gina, who's over there. You guys are welcome to come, to that, just to kind of take a tour of the building. It's one of my favorite ones to walk through, even if I, always a little bit concerned about something, well, we'll get to that. But the main thing, I'm really excited to see some of the progress we're making there. There are definitely some questions we got when it comes to things like insurance and how a land arrangement would work and all that, but I'm just really excited to be in this first step and to be moving forward on this.
Yeah, we're ready to move right away. We have the funding, the people, the backing. I did want to ask to see if potentially, if I can get a key to the building, that way I'd be able to take some people in there ahead of time, maybe. That way I can get some more accurate estimates and have a better proposal. I was told to come to the meeting and ask.
Yeah, I think that now that we've got the second meeting scheduled, and I think that once we got the discussion with the insurance and kind of the paperwork on that, I think that'd be an appropriate time to get that done. But we can get a key created, and then we can start laying that out. But we'll have an actual paper agreement for that,
Got it, of course. Cool. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Just being a small business owner, I know that whenever I do anything involving electric or plumbing, I have to go to the city of Portage and get a licensed contractor. That's on the list of the city. Is that something that you intend to do as well?
Well, if we can get away with it, we don't want to. No, it's a joke. Of course. Yeah, we wouldn't want to do anything that's illegal. As a sober individual, we try to practice these principles in all our affairs and, you know what I mean, honor the law and whatnot. We're not going to be going behind anybody's back or breaking in a back window. We want to make sure it's done right. It's our responsibility. And I'm not sure if I shared last month, but the reason why this is so important to me, man, I've been eyeballing this thing for years, and I just think that the city, we have 67 different places that you can go get a drink. And I know that because I drank at most of them when I was here, and I drank irresponsibly in this city. And I feel a responsibility to help my part by helping keep this city as safe as possible. And something like this, I think, has an opportunity to literally impact hundreds of thousands of lives over generations to come. And that's not an underestimate. It's bad out there. It's really bad out there. And I think I can help, and I have a solution.
If I could elaborate a little bit more to your question, Judy, because it's a good question. Yeah, so we can have people who, if they are qualified, they can volunteer to do some work on a project, but they still need to go through the city's licensing process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something where that can be arranged, with a nonprofit to be able to, as far as costs and things like that go. But yeah, everything will be done legally within the building.
We prefer to be on the up and up.
And it's my understanding that there's also asbestos in the building, so you're going to undertake the abatement of that as well?
Yeah, Mr.
Tom, do you mind coming back real quick?
That Monday a little bit. Sorry.
Jake, you are an enthusiastic cheerleader when it comes to this, but Tom Cherry could definitely explain some details to that.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to asbestos, there's ways to refurbish or remodel a building and not have to abate by capping certain surfaces, covering them, encapsulating them. It's a lot, it's actually a safer way to do it, but that's probably what's going to happen here, so.
So you'd be covering it.
Correct, yeah. So, and that's all, you know, as far as EPA and everybody is concerned, that's an option. Either abatement or capping or encapsulating. So I think that's the direction that we're probably going to take with most issues in that building.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Okay.
Jake, did you have anything, or are there other questions? Go ahead.
So you're saying that May the 6th at 1 o'clock, we're able to tour the building?
That's correct.
And so, did I hear you say that the insurance is covering all the,
Oh, no, what I was saying is that in order to do a project like this, we need to have some important information ahead of time when it comes to basically insurance, you know, what goes into that, and we've got our insurance provider, we're working on getting him involved to know if we can do that. And then also, there's just a whole lot of stuff we want to look at paperwork-wise when it comes to liability with the building, how it's going to be managed. And I can't stress, this is something that we're working on, but to actually do this, we'll take a formal vote from this commission.
okay, thank you.
I should also, oh darn it, where was I going with that? No, I think I answered the question. If something else comes to me, I'll say it. But it is to say, we are still in some early stages for this, but we are moving with great excitement. And maybe the excitement can show that we're excited about this as a possibility.
Thank you so much for your time, as always.
So did Wall and Holland, did you want to come? Or actually, maybe we'll start with you. So we had another person reach out to us, and just to explain a little bit of funny backstory, I thought we were going to have a meeting the other day about roller derby, but that was actually just a misunderstanding about an email address. And so actually, it turned out we weren't talking about roller derby. We had somebody who came in with a proposal for, you're not going to believe this, the Garrison building. We could still work roller derby into it, but
So I also met on Monday with Tom and Mayor and Portage Recovery Association about doing a community center in the Garrison building as well. And I supplied the proposal there. My thinking was more along the lines of a community center that focused on arts and education, including a artist loft, maker space, a kitchen that people could utilize to either do classes or programming in there or use for like their cottage goods, bakeries, things like that. And then also have turn the gym into a theater, so we had more of a community theater. I also did want to work with the Recovery Association and give them the space that they want and need for what they were hoping to do as well. So it's more sustainable and at least financially, so that we can have more of the community and bring in more grants and things like that that can help operate and run that. I've also already reached out to the Crossroads YMCA Development Director and have a capital campaign plan in place for this, as well as Jeff Berglund from Berglund Construction is actually very interested in the project. They do a lot of historical renovations, so it wouldn't just be going in and making everything all modern and nice. It would be revitalizing that 1923 building and then all of the add-ons and things like that. So yeah, that's what I was looking at. I basically took the plan that was from 2020 that Gina was a part of, and then kind of made a few adjustments and took that budget, added 25% on top of that, and then 15% on top of that for contingencies. So going from like a $3 million project to closer to $5.2 million. And again, capital campaign and everything in place. My idea would be to start a foundation to be able to then manage and run the community center, taking the building and the responsibility off of the city entirely. So I'm partnering with nonprofits and other groups in the area to run programs and things out of that building.
So I just want to make clear, I'm not necessarily in the habit of just letting people into City Hall, and then they say, give us the building, and I say yes. And of course, things like this actually take a vote from this commission and some pretty thorough study. But I want to say, Kelsey, could you describe a little bit about like your background and kind of who you are? And
sure.
just how you got to this point?
So my husband grew up in Portage. I have been, I actually ran the Northwest Indiana Business Roundtable for 2 years as the association manager, or 3 years, sorry. For that association, I ran the Home Builders Association for 2 years as well, and I am the vice president of our Roller Derby League, which is a 501c3 and small business that has significantly grown in the last year. So I've been dealing with all of that and getting money and doing the development for a lot of those associations. I also took the Northwest Indiana Influential Women dinner that they do, an award ceremony. It had roughly like 800 people, so we turned it into a nonprofit association as well and started running that back in 2018, 2019.
So part of the reason I asked, and again, once we knew what you were actually talking about, that it wasn't just roller derby, I wanted to have a meeting with Jake because we already had our subcommittee capable of like talking with Jake about this project for the Garrison building. I think that this is a bigger scope than just the RDC, and I think the question I have when it comes to this meeting, and I know that Mr. Bowditch, you were part of the meeting that we had with Kelsey and with Jake, when it comes to the motion that we had previously that passed to have the subcommittee working on the Garrison building, do we need to amend anything to bring this other discussion in? Because our initial subcommittee had to do primarily with just talking with the Portage Recovery Association, PRA. I guess I'm wondering, would it be a good idea if we're exploring other uses for the building as well? Should we like re-vote to expand the purposes of the subcommittee, or are we more or less okay with the structure as set?
I think you probably need to do another motion tonight to amend the focus of the subcommittee and make it broader. And so I would say the motion I think that we could hear tonight is, a motion to expand the scope of the subcommittee to include, to include like all discussion on the Garrison building. Because this is getting bigger, and I would be more comfortable with an amended focus of the subcommittee.
And I think as far as the actual goal, like what we need to produce, either at the next meeting or an incoming meeting for the RDC, is something more formal written up in regards to what we would be looking at when it comes to at least a phase one of what we'd like to do with the building as reference when it comes to making use of maybe the bottom floor. Again, I don't want to speak too much about what it could be, but I think it's important that we have something concrete after all this discussion we can bring.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a deliverable of the subcommittee to the RDC at large, would be, working with the different ideas that are out there and then producing a deliverable to the commission itself. And maybe the subcommittee does some sort of a presentation. But right now, if you're still just studying, then you just need to amend the focus of the subcommittee to include all uses for the Garrison building.
Does somebody want to make a motion or do a so moved kind of thing, or?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I know that people might want to leave. I just want to check, did Gina or Danielle want to come up? Oh, Gina for sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. Kelsey, if you could stay for the next question.
Sure.
So looking at, and I just got it, so I didn't have a time to read all of it, but where you say you're going to partner with organizations like the Painted Apple, I am the Painted Apple.
Oh, nice.
So if you'll stay after,
Sure.
we can talk.
Fantastic.
It was a test to see how quickly you read things brought to the RDC, and you passed.
I also noticed that you included the YMCA, and I'm a board member of that organization. So how much information, or were you able to negotiate with them in terms of what your plan is?
I haven't negotiated with them as far as part of my plan is. The meeting that we had was on Monday to even know if I could move forward with it at all. But my idea was just to essentially allow another space for different kinds of programs that the YMCA might want to do, or just partner with people that the YMCA may have to do presentations or programming there. Things like that. I don't know details, but just have some ideas about working with the other nonprofits in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I will say it is probably a good idea to go to City Hall first and make sure we're like cool with trying this out before you go to all the other nonprofits and then come to us. Of course, that would be a pretty powerful thing to have everybody showing up that way too. Gina, it is so good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys. And I just want to explain a little more their ideas. I'm excited. Back in 2020, there's so much beauty in this building and history. It's one of the few places that we have history left in Portage. We need a safe place, whether it be for youth, for adults, or just community programs. And the beauty in this building when you walk through is just, it's definitely moved me and it's become a passion for me. We did a community cleanup back in 2020. We started it off on the outside, and to see the amount of people, and this is when COVID hit, but to still see the amount of people that showed up to help do the cleanups and listening to many of their stories, in addition to the youth that have no memory of this building, but they showed up to help. And then we proceeded and we did an indoor cleanup, and that went even more amazing, should I say. I'm super excited to see what we can do and what we can save this building with it. And so I know some of you have not walked through it, but when you walk through it, yes, there is vandalism. I was just heartbroken when I did my first walkthrough. When it was adult ed, down the main hallway, there was wall murals painted by students. Walking through the building and seeing the vandalism, but yet when you walk down that main hallway, none of those murals were touched. And it goes to show you, I mean, I'll leave it at that. But I definitely excited for anything, for future plans. My district needs it. And so thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Gina. I'd just love for you to come up. I'm so excited about this too. This is very early, this last, I believe last, thing. But Daddy, I just wanted to say, we're talking all this cool stuff we're talking about, and yours is pretty cool too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was not prepared, but I can always talk about Wallenholland. But before I state that, first I want to say my name. I'm Danielle Balick. I'm a resident of Portage. I've lived here for 17 years. I'm going to state that I attended Garrison when it was adult ed in 1997. I'm very familiar with the school. I'm also a member of the Portage Recovery Association. I am a person in recovery of 16 and a half years. Jake is a dear friend of mine, and I am his treasurer for the Portage Recovery Association. And I'm on some other stuff, but we're not going to get on that. But the point is that I want to talk about Wallenholland. So Wallenholland Recovery is a non-for-profit 501c3, if you've not heard of us, that our goal is to open the very first women's recovery and children recovery home in northern Indiana. There's not anything else like this. So what that is, just to give you guys an idea, women and children recovery is when a person enters into recovery, there's usually like a halfway house or something that they need to go to because they may not have a home. Most of the time, there are children involved. Those children do not have a place to go, unless it's foster home or grandparent or something like that, and the child and the mother is separate. With that being said, that's not healthy. So when I got clean 16 and a half years ago, and I'm just going to, how much time do I have? Okay, because I can talk for 40 minutes, but I'll only do 2.
Maybe let's, I don't ever want to contain you. We'll deal with that.
So,
maybe the significance of the name.
I am.
And then, you were about to say that, I'm sure. And then also just, what you're looking to do in the city.
Okay, so when I got clean 16 and a half years ago, it was me and my 2 children, and there was nowhere for me to go. Except for this itty-bitty tiny apartment, which probably should have been condemned. And me and my children lived there. However, I took them everywhere with me in recovery. Everywhere. When I say everywhere, I mean a meeting, a park, you name it, we were there. Except for work and school, we were together. Because addiction is a family disease. And not only does the parent have to recover, but the children have to recover with you. In a nutshell, if you don't know my children, you should, but they are 21 and 24, and they're pretty remarkable individuals. My daughter works for the Salvation Army. My son works for PATH here, and the daughter's the youth ministry director for the Porter County Salvation Army at the age of 21 years old with not a degree. She's pretty awesome. They're both in the service, and that's because they grew up in recovery. So we want to have a safe place. It's been my dream for many years. I took it to a group of people. So on March 22nd, we organized Wall and Holland Recovery. It's named after two women, Amy Holland and Jackie Wall. I have to say Jackie Wall's birthday, she would have been 44 yesterday. She died on a head-on collision under the influence of drugs and alcohol. She was a single mother of 3 children in March of 2020, and we actually had our services 3 days before the world shut down. The other woman, the home is named after Amy Holland. She was my best friend in recovery. She died in September 12th of 2018. Wait, 19, I'm sorry, I got that. No, 18. I got married 17. The years blend together, you guys know that. And she was also a mother who died from a disease of addiction alone. So we decided we were going to have this meeting and get together, and my son actually said we should name it Wall and Holland, and they were formed. So our idea is to take a house, and turn it into a home for women to recover with their children in a community. Community being is when you are, I'm sorry, I'm going to try not to cry because this is very personal to me, but we need to make a change, and the change starts with us, and it starts with the children. So everybody talks about like prevention. How are we going to prevent that? We start with the youth. We educate. I have 2 children that are not addicts. I'm not going to tell you they never drank, or maybe they might have smoked a little pot. They might have, but they're not drug addicts and not alcoholics. And I'm telling you, it's education. So we can't stop. You can never stop me from using from the moment I pick up. We can educate. We can educate, and that's really what it's about. So stop me if you have any questions, because I can go on and on. We will open the very first women's recovery home we want to start with women and children. Eventually it'll grow. I'm certain there'll be more than just one Wall and Holland. But that's what we want to start with, because we want to get this right, and then we'll go on. I was actually raised by a single father, so when I first thought of this, I was like, I want to do both, but you have to get something right perfectly, and then you move on to the next. So I had a meeting. I've been talking to quite a few people, know about us, know what we've done. We've had fundraisers. We're on Facebook. If you haven't follow us. We now have a website. But we're ready for some land. We need some land, and we need the city of Portage to help us. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're ready for. And once with the land, the money will come, and we're going to help some people. And that's the goal.
So on our end, we've had a meeting so far at City Hall. Tom Cherry, was part of that, and don't worry, Tom, I won't make you walk all the way up here again. But it is just to say, I think that this is an incredible thing that's homegrown. It's a homegrown organization in our city, and the cause is something that I think is dear to a lot of us. I know when it comes to redevelopment, we have a lot of land. I've discussed that with Bill Rathjen, and there's a lot to what would go into this on the whole picture. But I think that Redevelopment Commission and the City of Portage, we're supportive of what you're looking to do. And when it comes to any assistance that we can provide, when it comes to locating a site and providing some help with either acquiring land or taking a look at land that the city already owns through the RDC, I think that it's good for us to be open to that. I've had some discussions already with Bill, and I just thought this was a great opportunity to talk about this here with the Redevelopment Commission, so that whether it's in a couple months or next year, it's not just wait, where did this idea come from? To know that we are actively working on this as a city.
We're like a real thing. And I must tell you, our partnership with Portage Recovery Association is real and will be real, because, so our idea, just so you have an idea, the Wall and Holland will not have a name plate in front of the building. There won't be no sign that says Wall and Holland Recovery next to, I'm going to use Greg because I know you, next to your house, Greg. It will be a home, a house.
Greg loves when you build things next to his house or around his house.
Well, we're going to build
Just so
next, but it'll be a home, a house turned into a home in a neighborhood where children can be a part of. And then our goal is to have our own separate office and entity within the Portage Recovery Association. And that's a partnership that we've built. Well, like I said, I got clean at the Portage, well, not there, but I started my recovery journey at Portage Recovery Association. It's pretty close to my heart. And so we'll be very close with them, and I think I'm gonna put in a nudge for them, because they mean a lot to me. they have in the Garrison building for PRA, will be able to offer so many services for these women. So, and we like when you need to be like within 6 blocks of the downtown, like there are some things we need, so we'll talk about that more. But most women don't have cars when they get clean. I mean, I had a car, but I jumped in the window to get in it, true story. But, so any questions for me about what we are and who we are?
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm glad
Thank
to know you
you.
can do the Dukes of Hazzard thing, getting into the car.
I mean, it's for real. I'll have to show you pictures one day. It's a real thing.
I just would like to say that I really appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's a great thing.
I appreciate that very much. Follow us on Facebook, please. And if you know somebody with $1 million, you can send it my way. I'll split it with Jake. Okay.
Thank you so much, and thank you, guys. I know that we went through a lot at the end that wasn't on the agenda, but with so much going on, I just think it's best to be as transparent as we can about some of the stuff happening, maybe not behind the scenes, but within City Hall, you know, when we're not here. Unless anybody else has anything else they want to say, I'm comfortable with a motion to adjourn
One
the
quick
meeting.
item, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sure thing, sir.
Some of us on this commission have received emails directed from the YMCA concerning their pool project. I provided information that I wanted to share with you. Just a bit of history. I was on the YMCA board when that building was purchased some years ago. It used to be the Off the Wall Racket Club. I've been actively involved with the Y for a number of years with their pool project, their proposed pool project. And so I thought I'd share those emails if you did not see them. They will, in time, approach this body for financial assistance. So I think that's something we have to consider in the future.
It's good to know that's coming, and no, thank you for providing these emails here. Should it be put in the record that these emails were shared with the whole commission or in the minutes, or is there a particular way to do that for record-keeping purposes?
Well, I think that's just been accomplished simply by, Sonia taking the minutes. So as long as she gives me the nod that she captured it, then it is now known that the emails and a letter, it's a letter and an email that have been circulated and provided to the commissioners for future consideration.
Thank you so much. Any other matters to bring before this commission? Hearing none, would anybody have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.